Falling too fast to prepare for this. Tripping in the world could be dangerous. Everybody circling as vultures.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today for the third event of our 12-part Sports Tech and Innovation series powered by FanSaves. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, along with my FanSaves co-founder, Shannon Ferguson, who will be our lovely timekeeper for this afternoon.
Hi, everyone. We're so excited to have you joining us today and really excited to talk more about Ticket Tech.
Awesome. Our Sports Tech and Innovation series is a bi-weekly virtual event focusing on the changing landscape of the sports industry through technology and innovative solutions, which are overcoming traditional barriers. Throughout the series, we'll hear from some of the top sports executives and industry leaders and learn from their perspectives on how technology is making an impact within their organizations. We'll also hear from some of the hottest emerging sports tech startups who are driving change and revolutionizing the traditional sports industry. Today's event is focused on ticket technology and the added importance of digital solutions that are playing in the wake of the pandemic. We would love to know where everyone is attending from today, so feel free to engage with the other attendees in the chat room. Before we meet our esteemed panelists for today's event, we'd like to take a quick moment to thank our partners for their support of this series. Sports Tech Business Digest is your home for recent news about new and emerging sports technology. The founder and author, Costa, Kladianos, who is also one of our panelists today, has over 20 years of experience in technology focusing on the sports and entertainment business. ALGONQUIN College. The Sports Business Management program prepares students for an exciting career in the ever-growing multi-billion-dollar sports industry. The program positions students to work in the management and business aspects of the sports industry. Events.com is the preferred event management technology supporting events around the globe. The mobile-first ticketing and registration platform is an event organizer's one-stop shop for payment processing, digital marketing, and sponsorship needs. To learn more, visit events.com. The University Sports Business Alliance. The mission of the USBA is to connect and grow university sport business clubs through a supportive alliance that aims to develop professional networks and industry skills. Their goals include improving the education and opportunities available to all aspiring sports business professionals. Feel free to check them out on LinkedIn. Lastly, this event is powered by FanSaves. FanSaves is a sponsorship inventory asset enabling sports teams, athletes, and organizations to activate and engage their fans with their sponsors. For more information about our platform, visit fansaves.com or connect with us on LinkedIn to set up a demo. A quick reminder before we begin, this event is being recorded and will be posted to our FanSaves YouTube channel later this week. So without further ado, I'm pleased to welcome our four esteemed panelists that will be taking part in today's event. First up, our resident panelist, Costa Kladianos. As mentioned, Costa is a leader in sports technology space and is the founder of Sports Tech Business Digest. Costa has previously worked at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, the Canadian Football League, and most recently Tennis Canada in positions in technology and innovation. Costa, thank you so much for joining us again today. Our second panelist today is Chris Zito. Chris is the Associate Director of Groups and Membership Services at Senator Sports and Entertainment. Chris is a graduate of Algonquin College and has spent nearly 20 years with the Ottawa Senators organization. He is an integral part of the organization and will surely play a big role in the rebuild and revitalization of the team. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Next up is Josie Pingitore. Josie currently serves as a Senior Director of Ticketing and Merchandise at the Canadian Elite Basketball League. Josie has degrees from both York University and Humber College, in addition to her vast experience in the sports ticketing space, having spent time with organizations including Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, the Canadian Soccer Association, U Sports, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Josie, it's so great to have you as part of today's event. Thank you so much for being here with us. And last, but certainly not least, Nick Sakiewicz. Nick has spent the last 5 years as the commissioner of the National Lacrosse League and is looked upon in the sports industry as a leader in innovation. Nick is a graduate of the University of New Haven and holds a bachelor's degree, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Among his long list of accomplishments, in 2006, Nick co-founded Keystone Sports and Entertainment and assembled the investors, which eventually became the ownership group of Major League Soccer's 16th expansion team, the Philadelphia Union. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. So I know Nick and Costa were both joining us right as the event was starting. So just want to take a quick moment to double check their attendance. And I'll start off with Chris for our first panelist question as we confirm Costa and Nick. So Chris, kicking this off first today, the Ottawa Senators' future on the ice looks bright with a pipeline of young prospects and talent bolstered by this week's NHL entry draft, which saw the Sens pick twice in the top 5 and 3 in the first round. Along with the excitement on the ice, what are the Sens doing to add value to season ticket holders with the 7th season seat member club? And how has technology played a factor in rolling out that program?
First, Chris and everybody, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. A couple of years ago, we made a concerted effort to rebuild and rebrand our membership program, knowing that the core of any sports franchise is its season ticket base. It runs almost as a subscription to a magazine. All the pricing, everything we do comes off that membership base. So we completely rebuilt our membership services program. And a big part of rebuilding that was the way we deliver some of the intangible benefits that you get outside your season tickets. Like there's the standard discounts that you get on everything you save at the rink, at the store, and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that we used was a platform called Loop and Tie out of the US that delivers the program electronically. It's a simple one-click through platform that we used, and it increased the usage of our program from 60% into the high 90% redemption rate on that. And why that was important to us is because as your fans become more engaged with your brand and with your team, they renew at a higher rate. It's the more events a fan comes to, and that's not talking about hockey. That's the barbecue, the season ticket holder pickup, the Christmas event that you do. The more your fans are engaged like that, the more invested they feel with the team. It's almost as if the hockey part is a given and everything else they do is what actually keeps them as a year-to-year buyer now. So we're in a competitive market. We're in a very astute market. So we have to do a little bit more than, just give tickets to a hockey game to keep our fans engaged. So, we're trying to do some things internally that we'll be looking to do electronically over the course of the next few years, using some near field technology about where fans are in the stadium, offer them discounts if they're close to the Sen store, the concessions. Those are probably a couple years away now because the pandemic has put a pause on some of the initiatives that we were planning to launch. But those are just a few of the things that we're trying to move our customers digitally, plus a complete relaunch of our digital portal where they can manage their account, transfer tickets, reprint their own tickets, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, really great insight there. Thanks so much for that, Chris. Exciting times for the Senators for sure. Josie, I want to turn to you next. The CEBL recently executed a bubble-type tournament, which was broadcasted across Canada and saw the Edmonton Stingers take home the championship in the league's second season. With the pandemic still looming, what does the ticketing strategy look like for the CEBL for next season, COVID or not?
Hey guys, it's so good to see some familiar faces in here. So for us at the CBL, we're in a unique situation because what would have been this summer would have been our second season. So a lot of the plans that we had, our 5-year plan is obviously a little bit adjusted just in terms of taking into consideration that we weren't able to have fans in our seats for that summer series. But our retention strategy that we went out with in April saw a 92% retention rate, which is a huge sign for us for moving forward and the fans that we have created over the last 2.5 years. For us moving forward, we're in the position right now where we're planning out what our on sale strategy is going to be like for the season. Right now, we feel like we would have been on sale if everything was normal for this year. We would have been on sale already for 2021. But with this climate, we don't feel like that we're in a position to go out and market properly. So we're still in the discovery phase for determining what our manifests are even going to look like for 2021. We're thinking that our seating is going to change, whether it is legally mandated or regulated in some way. We're going to adjust what our seating structure is going to look like, which is going to have an effect on our capacities. But right now we're working with Ticketmaster on a lot of their innovations. They've been forced to adjust some of their programs that they provide to their clients in order to make live events safer and make people feel comfortable coming into venues. So we're making adjustments from everything to going completely digital across all 7 venues, and also things like egress and ingress and how to get people from the parking lot to their seats, to concessions and backwards, back home safely. So as of right now, our plans are to move forward with 2021 as if it was a regular season, just with making some minor adjustments on manifests and making people feel comfortable and want to actually come to our events, because we don't think people are in that mindset right now to be attending events in the near future.
Yeah, really great insight there as well, Josie. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure, with the adaptability of the CEBL proved by the tournament that you hosted this year, that you'll be able to adapt to this pandemic, and your strategies will be successful moving forward. I want to bounce back to Costa, who has just joined us. Costa, great to see you today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not driving. Don't worry. I'm parked. So we're safe.
That's great. Good stuff. So from your experience over the past decade, working through multiple different sports and different organizations, how have you seen sports ticketing evolve, really from those physical tickets to present day?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's completely gone digital. Obviously, it's more than just selling your ticket and the fan coming in. You want to know who your fans are, who's actually coming into your venue, how much time they're spending in your venue, what they're buying, what their preferences are, so you can better serve your fans. You can upsell, you can sell them the tickets that they want. You can bring in their families, and it's about increasing. It's about engaging your fans, but it's also increasing kind of the per caps and what you do with them, because you can only sell so many tickets. It's what you do with each ticket. I think the use of data and analytics has become huge, and it's become table stakes. A company that we use at Tennis Canada, I know, and a lot of other organizations are using, is Stellar Algo. They work with Ticketmaster and other ticket providers to really provide that data and to reach out to current and new fans and find out where your fans are coming from and predict, who's a high profile, who's a high target, high value target, where to get those fans, how to kind of manifest your seating to work in a pandemic environment, because if you have to spread it out, if you have to redo it, and really get that next level, because as we've seen, there has been no fans for 7 months now, and fans are slowly starting to come back down south, and they'll eventually come back up here. It's who has that data, who's using that data properly, and how they're using it are the ones that are going to survive versus the ones who do business as usual.
Yeah, absolutely. Great insight there from Costa. I spent a lot of time in the industry and is the founder of Sports Tech Business Digest. Appreciate that, Costa. We were just joined by Nick Sakiewicz. Nick, how's it going? Great for you to be here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good. Apologize for being late. I had technology problems.
No worries. You're just in time, and actually just in time for our next question. So I'll forward this next question to you. On March 12th, the National Lacrosse League announced the suspension of the season indefinitely, and in April announced the cancellation of the rest of the season due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Since then, what are some digital strategies that have been discussed in relation to ticketing to ensure that when lacrosse is back and the fans return, that there is a more efficient and contactless way for fans to buy and attend games next season?
Well, that's a great question. And what we really did almost from day one, when we realized we were going to be locked up for a period of time, didn't anticipate it was going to be this long a time, but we doubled down on communication with our fans, reached out to our teams, each one of our 13 teams, now 14 teams, did a phenomenal job of communicating directly with the fan base and all the different levels within the fan base: season ticket holders, group buyers, and even individual ticket buyers. And, in a variety of ways, doubled down on communications. We created 4 new channels at the league office, specifically dedicated to behind the scenes content, informational content, highlight content, and it turned out to pay us really well. As a result, right now across the league, we're sitting at about 87% renewed on all of our season tickets for this coming year. Some of our teams are taking deposits. We haven't announced yet when we're returning to play. We expect to do that in the next few weeks. But the but some of the more progressive teams and aggressive teams have been out taking deposits for new season tickets next year. Our team in New York actually has exceeded what they sold last year. They've been probably our most aggressive. The New York Riptide have been the most aggressive in the off season right now. So, those are some of the strategies, but we found that, communication, all forms, all channels, multiple levels, people are at home. They're getting tired of watching the news all the time. They need content, and they've been very responsive to that content. So the decision early on to communicate and really over communicate was a good one.
It's really great to hear that percentage of renewals, and I think that's a testament of your league's communication, all of the team's communication to the fans, keeping them engaged. So really great to hear that. I know everyone's really excited for sports and definitely looking forward to a lacrosse season to come. Chris, I want to bounce back to you. Costa kind of spoke a little bit about data and how digital ticketing is able to provide some of that data for sports teams. So my question is, how has digital ticketing helped you and your team better understand who your fans are and how have you been able to use data to retarget fans for future games?
Yeah, it's the future. I think he hit the nail on the head. Obviously, I don't even know what the number is, but I want to say 6x, 7x the size of our database just because of our change to mobile ticketing. We haven't gone fully mobile yet, but we will be next year. And our database goes up 40, 50,000 names every year because of it. So, and before I get into how we're using it to targeting, we've also found ways through partnerships to start capturing some of that secondary market data as well, as more and more people start looking to other channels to buy tickets. And that's obviously we don't get as much data through secondary, but we do get the primary things like email address and stuff. So it's increased our ability to market pre-post game dramatically. Like everyone, we're using that data specifically to engage our fans with either, we're very content based. So we initially will send content out surveys just after the game to our fans, but use them specific for marketing we can't market for shows, but we can for hockey games. So, hitting our fans up in certain demographics and we bucket them into four different fan groups, if you will. And we'll, Thursday night crowd's different than a Tuesday night crowd, and the Saturday night crowd against Toronto is very different than the Monday crowd in October. So we see that through the buying patterns of these people, and we're able to target them. We've used artificial intelligence internally as a sales rep here through an emailer, through Conversica, if anyone's familiar with it, and had great success with it, where it's farmed leads for us through the data that we're getting. So, it would take a rep 3-4 weeks to plow through. We can hit everyone that bought tickets for a single game overnight through Conversica. And it's like the way they describe it, it's like going to the beach with a metal detector instead of a pail and a bucket to uncover those leads where we can change people from season ticket from casual buyers to, mini pack buyers to half season to groups, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, really great to hear how the Sens are leveraging technology, and you spoke a little bit about AI and some of the secondary platforms. So really important to have a great digital strategy that includes data and retargeting fans. So thank you very much for your insight there. I want to turn to Josie. The CEBL is a relatively new league going into its third season. How important was it for the league to have a digital first strategy right from day one, and how has the league executed that strategy to date?
Yeah, so our marketing strategy is a pretty robust one since day one, because we had to make a name for ourselves in a really inundated market. Basketball has been tried in Canada multiple times, and it's failed. So I think the fact that we're still standing after having one season in front of fans and one season without fans says a lot. Our marketing department is really robust, and we have a lot of interactive communications with our fans, both on social as well as through communications. We have a pretty small staff here, so we're able to have really great relationships with each of our purchasers, and we've planned internally. We consider ourselves some of the most difficult purchasers in the market. I consider myself one of the most difficult people to sell something to. So we use a lot of our personal experience on how we want to market to people. You want to make it personal. You want to do things that people actually care about. We don't, we have a lot of interactions with our players, which is what people like. We have human interest stories. We have players from all over the world, and we focus on our Canadian players more than probably most leagues and any other Canadian basketball league has ever done before. So we really capitalize on the human aspect of it and try to interact with our purchasers on a human level and make that more of a friendly interaction rather than a consumer interaction. Over the summer series, we had the support of CBC on our backs to help us reach a wider audience, which had a huge response there. We use our fans and engage with them and get them to be ambassadors on our behalf. Something that we're able to do now more so than larger organizations, because a lot of our fans are fans because they love the game and not because they have that heritage aspect where the Maple Leafs do or the Blue Jays even do. They're just completely invested in our players and what we're trying to do here. So we capitalize on that with them and get them to be ambassadors on our behalf and are building our database that way.
It's been really fun to watch the growth of the CEBL, and I know like I'm constantly getting fed content from the CEBL across all of my platforms. So kudos to you and your team for all the things that you've done so far and all of the things that are yet to come. Costa, I want to bounce back to you here for this next question. Amazon has recently announced new biometric technology that lets shoppers pay at physical stores by using the palms of their hand. The technology has shoppers pay at stores by putting the palm of one's hand over a scanner and when they come or leave. Do you think that we could soon see this type of technology creep its way into the sports industry, making the stadium truly touchless?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes it touchless. It speeds up your lines, which is super important. You want to speed up your transaction. You don't want people to be waiting in lines. You want them to get what they want and then go out and enjoy the event. So the more you can do to speed that up, the better. You see a lot of the football stadiums now are being built and they're with the cashless in mind. Just because, again, you want to not only, I mean, you want to speed everything up, but you're also getting that data from the people. When people are paying cash, you're not getting the data and you're not helping your business. So, I mean, it's twofold. You're helping the fans, you're helping the lines, you're increasing per caps, but you're also getting the data. So it just only makes sense to move in that direction.
Yeah, it's truly been a transformation over the last few years with the Baltimore Ravens, first that I saw in the NFL, coming out and going fully digital. And that kind of leads into my next question that I'll ask Nick to round out our panelist discussion. Over the past few years, most major professional teams, if not all, have made the switch over to digital ticketing platforms, and it's trickling down into the minor league organizations. My question is, what, in your opinion, are some of the biggest hurdles for teams making the transition from physical to digital ticketing?
The willingness to invest. For a league like ours, we're fortunate because we have 5 NHL owners, 2 NFL owners, 2 NBA owners, and the rest of our independent owners are well resourced. So the investment in technology is really important, first and foremost, and not just the investment in technology, but having a really strong analytics team to be able to parse the information and interpret the information the most effective and efficient way. We all know, I'm sure everybody on this call knows, you can drown in data and information, and it's so important to be able to quickly ascertain the relevant information that can help move your needles in revenue and in relevance, whether it's tickets, sponsorship, merchandise, concession sales, whatever it is. It's not a secret that data is a gold mine, but you still got to dig into it in order to mine that gold. And it's the investment. So it's the investment in the technology platforms, but more than that, it's also the investment in having the right people be able to interpret the data in order to unlock its value in terms of generating more revenue. So I think it's the biggest challenge is the investment and the commitment to the investment.
Yeah, definitely. Really great perspective there from the commissioner of the National Lacrosse League. Thank you so much, Nick, for that that answer. And I want to thank you all for your incredible insights into your organizations and how you've incorporated technology into your ticketing strategies. So before we introduce the founders who will be presenting their startups for feedback from our expert panelists, let me tell you how this next half hour is all going to go down. Each startup will have 3 minutes to present their company, which will be followed by feedback from each of our panelists. Bandwagon will start us off presenting first, followed by Ticket Time Machine, then Igniter Tickets will present, followed by feedback from our panelists. So let's get started. First up, we have Bandwagon. Harold, if you could share your screen, your 3 minutes will begin once you start speaking.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much. Again, my name is Harold Hughes. I'm the founder and CEO of Bandwagon. We are an identity infrastructure company that helps live event organizers and experience creators better understand who's actually in their venue on the day of the event. The intent there is to help them not only improve their business operations, but to enhance public safety and to make their marketing and sponsorship more effective. So we'll start off with a quote. It's one of my favorites, made by Nathan Hubbard, former CEO of Ticketmaster as well as Rival, where if you read it, you naturally may think about security, right? If you have to know everything about 100 people getting onto an airplane, shouldn't we know everything about 100,000 people in a stadium? My first thing that makes me think of is safety. But on top of that, there's a big disconnect between how do we select our product and service mix? How do we make sure that our marketing messaging is effective? How do we make sure that our sponsorship is dynamic? And so that's where Bandwagon aims to really enter the industry, not as a disruptor, but as a complementary player. So from a problem standpoint, we think the key to this is that event organizers and experience creators simply don't know which fans are in their venues. As we've heard today from different panelists, there are lots of different ways in which this information is trying to be gathered. But the other part of this is, from a contrarian position, is that we believe that too often, a lot of event organizers have bought into the idea that so much data means better data. In actuality, you could probably do better with less data that's more impactful. So oftentimes, sponsorship and marketing has normally been leaning on demographic data, age, gender, socioeconomic status. Instead, we believe that there should be an improvement in emphasis on behavioral data. What do you like to do when you're here? Who do you like to come with? How often do you like to come each year? So to do that and facilitate that, Bandwagon believes in integrating information you already have. Everyone who is operating in this data heavy world truly believes that the information that they have is the most valuable piece of the puzzle, when in actuality, it's a small piece of a greater picture. And so we start with information that you already have, starting with your CRM, and then we integrate technology partners that are already in your ecosystem, whether that's a concessions partner or a merchandising partner, because oftentimes that data is very siloed, as we've seen from our existing customers. And then we're going a step further, being able to be put directly in front of the fans as an aggregator of their information. And we de-identify it so that you aren't necessarily getting information on the individual, but you're getting aggregated feedback on their overall behaviors. That's what we're up to. We're based in Greenville, South Carolina. Super excited to share what we're doing with you all. And if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. If not, any feedback would be helpful for us as we continue to build and scale. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Harold. Great presentation. Just a quick reminder to unshare your screen. Thank you so much. And for feedback, why don't we begin with Costa?
Yeah, no, I really like that. Thanks for presenting. I like the fact that it's not a closed system. You're working with other partners, you're integrating other tools, and everything's working together. I think that makes sense because you're getting the information from everywhere. You're not saying you're the one source.
Right.
And I really like how it's reaching out to understand the behaviors of your fans. There's the basic demographic data, which you need, but then there's also that next level. And it goes back to garbage in, garbage out. So it's getting the right data and understanding who your fans are, and then you can target them. So I think you guys are in the right direction. I really like it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Great. Thank you for that, Costa. Nick, why don't we turn to you next for your thoughts on the presentation of Bandwagon?
Yeah, I liked it, Harold. You know, I'm a data freak, and also most of my career spent in team operations and putting butts in seats and building arenas and getting people in them. Great concept. I think maybe you probably have thought about this, but one of your challenges in go-to-market is more of your more sophisticated operators and arena operators, stadium operators, and teams are really on this and try to think about how maybe that's not a market for you, but definitely in the secondary sports markets and maybe the smaller promoters, minor league sports, this could be a great value added because they don't have the budgets necessarily that maybe an NFL team has to understand who's sitting in their arenas. But great concept, and I could see, I was an MLS operator for a long time, be really interested in this technology.
Thank you. And we're definitely targeting those types of markets, USL, MLS, in markets that don't necessarily consider themselves the super technologically advanced.
Right. No, great
Awesome.
stuff.
Great feedback, Nick. Thank you so much for that. And we'll turn to Josie next for your thoughts on the presentation.
Harold, I think that's awesome. As we're starting up, we're building up our database. So we're doing pretty good, obviously, for 2.5 years, but we do often find ourselves that our ticketing database is in one silo and our merchandising database is in another. And we struggle sometimes with getting those to communicate and then finding the gaps in between and multiple purchasers on different databases or the same purchasers on different databases. And I'm really interested in the behavioral data versus the demographic data. And I think that's a really great way of looking at it. The struggle that we have at the CBL is that we're a league that goes into other people's houses. So we're in 7 different venues across Canada and don't have access to things like the data from concessions and the data from parking and all those other things. So we're trying to figure out ways to get behavioral data other than just ticket purchasing trends and merchandising trends. So I'd love to connect after this and see, where we're missing some gaps and continue the conversation. But I think data's gold. So I think you're in the right track.
Thanks, Josie.
Appreciate that, Josie. And we'll move right along to Chris to get your thoughts on the presentation.
It was awesome. Love what you're doing. Some of the other panelists have already taken some of what I was going to say, but I think the behavioral side, to me, I think when we look at Nick, you mentioned it too, there's a lot of data out there and you can get lost in it sometimes. And when you really drill down to that old 80-20 rule, about 20% of our customers make up a significant portion of our revenue. And to understand behaviorally how they, I guess, in development of a high-end concierge program for our top-end customers, because we have a $500 customer and we have a $500,000 customer, and understanding that top end of what do they do when they come to the rink, what are they buying, when do they come, what games they come to, all that kind of stuff. And there's I've heard stories, I haven't been personally because I'm not a big spender, but in casinos where as soon as you walk in, you're identified of who you are and your favorite drink is presented to you and you walk right to where your favorite poker table. That's the kind of things I think you'll see pro sports heading in that direction on the higher end of a little bit more of a full concierge entertainment experience rather than just coming and sitting down and watching a hockey game. So the safety part obviously has become very important for us over the last few years, especially being in Ottawa. So I think that's an angle that you could really look at as well too, because our security's had been heightened over the last, as every sports venue's had to for the last while. So love what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Harold, for your presentation. Great job. And we'll move on next to Matt from Ticket Time Machine. Matt, if you could share your screen, your 3 minutes will begin once you start speaking.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks to FanSaves and Shannon and Chris for having me today. Let me share my screen here. So as Chris said, I'm the founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. We're a commemorative ticket company. Quick story on how it was started. I was at a Marlins game. Edinson Volquez throws a no-hitter. I have a mobile ticket. They announce if you want a printed ticket, come to the box office. I wait online. I say, this is great. Can you put Edinson Volquez no-hitter on the ticket? They said, no, we can't do that. My background is in ticket printing and ticketing. I understand that they can do it. They just don't want to do it. So technology, it's changing the way the events do business. That's why we're on the call today. Everything's going digital. And the 2 main drivers on that is cutting away an expense and collecting the data. What you see here are a mobile ticket and a print at home. The problem with these two tickets are the Blink 182 on the left doesn't even say it's Blink 182, doesn't say where it is, doesn't say when it is.
Hey, Matt, so sorry to cut you off. Your screen isn't shared, so if you want to share your screen, and just sorry to interrupt you there, but please continue once your screen is shared.
Now?
Perfect. Yeah, we can see it now. Great.
Okay, so this was the first. So here you see the two tickets. The Blink 182 mobile ticket doesn't say Blink 182, doesn't say where, doesn't say when. The ticket on the right was a ticket I bought online on a secondary market. My name is not Joseph Knopf, so I have a print at home, which I do collect, but it doesn't have my name on it. So fans want tickets. We did a survey with Wakefield Research Partners. This is for the NBA. As you can see here, half of the people who attend games collect tickets at least some of the time, about a third as much as possible. I think the NBA isn't as much of a fanatic collector as, say, baseball, which has more milestones, and football, which is probably just the most fanatical of them all. But it just shows you that the market is there. Pearl Jam did a home shows, 7 shows. The fans went nuts. They said, we want a printed ticket. So Ticketmaster goes and produces the ticket on the bottom. 2 points here. One, there's not a whole lot of effort to designing this, and they wouldn't let you customize it. So they're basically saying, whatever we have in our database, we'll just print it out for you. So minimal effort there, and I think that's a big problem with what's going on in the digital world for ticketing. But even if you do a great digital ticket, the people still want something printed. So what are we doing? We're creating souvenir tickets. And as you can see on the right hand, we have all different kinds. We have thermal tickets, we have season tickets, we have animated tickets, foil, hologram, tickets that are for events that are about to happen. And then we can also do tickets for games that are in the past. A lot of times you don't know a game that had of importance to you or an event that had importance to you until maybe afterwards. I have the ticket for the Tim Tebow game, the Promise, where they lost. End of the year, they win out and they win a national championship. Most people would have ripped that ticket up like a losing horse race ticket. But I collect all my tickets, and now it's a very meaningful ticket for me. How can we work with you guys? Partner, supplier, licensee, or vendor. We prefer to be partners. We work together. We sell to the customer, and they get a customized and personalized ticket. A supplier, we can just sell to you and create something for you to sell for your fans. So we're turning something that was an expense into a revenue stream. There's also tons of asset for your brand partners and sponsorships. We can be a licensee. We'll give you the 16 to 20% licensing fee, or we can be a vendor. I did on-site. We get booths and we sell. It's always much better for you to sell something to your customers and fans than if I try and sell the same thing. And so right now we're looking for all of these and trying to just supplement the digital ticket, enhance the fan experience, allow you to engage with your fans. We have things that are combining the digital world to the physical printed ticket through QR codes. You can push content to them. We have augmented reality experiences, and I'm very accessible. We're all over everywhere. Let me know what questions you have or how we can help. Happy to jump on a call with anyone. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Great presentation. Just a quick reminder to unshare your screen. Thank you. And for feedback, why don't we begin with Chris Zito?
Yeah, that was great. I really like that. I think, Matt, I'm one of those guys. I have a frame at home with all the tickets that I have from some of the sporting events I've been to. This is particular. It's funny that we're talking about mobile technology, but then printed tickets, because our demographic in Ottawa tends to be a little bit older on the season ticket side. And every time we take a season ticket package away from somebody, they say, but what about? And we've last year we had like a little, it's like a pewter ticket that we gave them as a souvenir ticket instead. And as we try and get more and more people to go in that direction, I think this is a solution that would work really well for on the company side. But then on the consumer side, like a first-time buyer, the first time a dad's taking his kid to the game, that's something that you want to have and keep, right, and put in the shoebox or whatever. So I really like what you guys are doing. I think there's a big opportunity there, especially if you can get into, you can market towards playoff games and those bigger events, the championship games and things like that. I think that's where people really start to keep that stuff as a memento. So I'll probably reach out to you afterwards to find out a little bit more about what you guys are doing, because I think you're onto something here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Actually, just 2 quick points. I didn't get a chance to mention the championship game, but just the nature of ticketing. I have Gator basketball, Final Four, and championship football. It has no indication that the Gators played. That's the nature of ticketing. They can't get it until it's too late, and that's something that we can do.
Yeah, and I really like that idea that you had of putting something key about the game, a no-hitter or Tim Tebow's game or caught a fly ball, whatever it is for that game. I really like the uniqueness. I think a lot of our customers were just happy with the ticket or a facsimile of the ticket, but that extra step you're taking of customizing it a little bit, I think is a really, really good idea. We used to customize ticket years and years ago and put company logos on it. I don't know why we stopped doing it, to be honest with you. Maybe it was just a printing problem, but anyways, I really like what you're doing with that.
Appreciate it.
That's outstanding. Great feedback. Thank you for that. Josie, why don't we turn to you next? What were your thoughts about the presentation?
Yeah, I'm super nostalgic about things like that. I have a whole box full of tickets as well. I also have a frame of tickets. As a business person, you think about the cost of the implications of that and the necessity of it, but I don't think that the transition to digital is going to be as quick and as easy as originally was thought out. So I really like the idea of it. The one struggle that we have with going completely digital is our partners. So we have partners who purchase season tickets as well, and we find that their attendance isn't the best because they don't get the reminder of having that ticket on their desk or in their files or on them where they can see the dates. So I think having some sort of aspect to work with partners and to have maybe a partner specific type of ticket where it's not necessarily gold embossed or it's not, the really, really big, nice ones or the plexiglass ones or whatever the types of tickets that have been coming out for certain championships. I think there's always going to be some sort of element of a printed ticket. And I personally like it. So I think it's a really cool concept that you're coming up with there. And I think there's always going to be that interest from probably any sports organization to have some sort of memorabilia that way.
Awesome. Great feedback there from Josie. Thank you so much for that. And Nick, I'd love to turn to you next to hear your thoughts on Matt's presentation of Ticket Time Machine.
Yeah, thanks. I echo what Chris and Josie said. Great comments on it. I really like this concept for a variety of reasons, not just for the older demographic that has collected that shoebox full of these tickets. I'm one of them, or framed them on the walls. But I also like this for the new demographic, the millennials and Gen Zs, because what I find inside of those groups, they are very social. And if you'll notice in certain areas like music and sports, what's old is new again with them. And one of the questions I had for you, Matt, on this is, have you looked at focus groups in the new audience that's coming through, particularly Gen Z and millennial, that is really the audience of the future?
Yeah, we're collecting data. It's hard. It's really hard when you see that NBA survey. I mean, that's a huge number, the numbers that we see coming back. And, we're going to look to see the younger people. I think it's different with everyone. There's people who are, old school ticket collectors who it has to be that ticket and they won't want to have anything to do with what I'm doing, even if it's licensed from the leagues or the teams, because it doesn't look like a ticket. And then there's some people who are going to really like the talking piece component of it, like a show and tell type thing. And when we do the digital stuff, there'll be gamification and, again, augmented reality and keeping them engaged. So I think, to your point, that we can have the younger people be interested in this. And yeah, we're going to be having a lot of research done. I have a team that's doing some research now, and we're hoping to get some of that.
I'd encourage you to do that. We have the youngest average audience in any sport. I mean, we're in the late 30s as our average audience, and we just see the trends growing, and that audience, particularly Gen Z, getting even more robust. The other comment I had for you, and you may have thought about this already, the big memorabilia houses as potential strategic partners.
Yeah, we're talking to people who have licensing, and I mean that's the easiest way to do it, because we can create a product tomorrow and they can put it on sale. So it's always difficult to you try and go to the teams and you have conversations with them. It's not worth me getting the licenses. I really need to be, an internal license or supplier. But yeah, definitely merchandise teams and the people with the license is really where we're targeting now.
Great discussion here, guys. And I'd love to turn to Costa next and hear his feedback on the presentation.
Yep. So the first three made some great points. What I would look at is I'm a big sports card guy in the industry, and I would look at what the sports card industry has done. And they've created something called manufactured scarcity. So what you have is what you could do, and this is just an idea, is you have a limited number of a certain variation of your ticket. So let's say I was at the Jays winning the World Series Game 7. Say the first 20 people will get a numbered foil board card or foil board ticket, and then they're gone, and then you get your other different variations. So people are on there, you're creating that scarcity, you're creating that chase, and then you're creating a resale market where people are clamoring for that. So that's what the sports card industry has done to revive itself, and I think that could work definitely for what you're doing there, because I think it's really cool. And as a collector myself, I would love to. I think back of all the games that I won, I have the tickets, but if I had like a special 1-of-1 or a signed ticket by Jose Bautista during his bat flip game offering there, it just creates that next level.
Yeah, really, really great comparison there, Costa. Sorry, Matt. I invite all of our panelists to connect with our presenting startups, and in the name of keeping on track of time, I invite you to do so after the event. But I want to move along to our next presenter. Thank you, Matt, for that presentation and for the panelist feedback. Next up, we have Daniel from Igniter Tickets. So Danielle, if you could share your screen, your 3 minutes will begin once you start speaking.
Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, sir.
So Igniter Tickets, we're basically a specialized sports ticketing company in the mid-market, and I'll get to that in a second. So just give you an idea, we deal with teams like in the USHL, OHL, American Association, that sort of size, right down to Junior A and tournaments with Hockey Canada, Grand Slam of curling. So how did we get there? Why are we sort of the mid-market team? And let me just boost this up here. I can go to the next page. And I'm hiding my own screen. So 5 years ago, we ended up doing some ticketing consulting, and we decided to get into the ticketing business. And the questions we asked ourselves were, what are complex ticketing problems not being solved? And what market segments are not being served well? And after talking to people in the industry that we knew, we decided our focus would be on the mid-market sports teams, sports venues, 1,000 to 10,000 sort of venue size attendance. And that's proven very effective. We've been growing rapidly in that market because it's an underserved market that's been paying too much and being underserviced. So that seems to be really working well for us. Then we decided, given my market research background, to really focus on needs and ideas and actually parse the clients into operational people and those who do sales and marketing and figure out how they use a ticketing system in these mid-market teams where there's no experts often. They're usually more generalists in figuring out how they use a system and what they need. And we've actually been in box offices, including our programmers who kind of enjoy the experience, where we make them do all the facets of box office sales. So they actually have a real world understanding of what it means to be in a box office, to refund tickets, swap tickets, be there on game day. And recently we've been expanding more into beyond ticketing for some of these mid-market teams. So we're kind of embedding a streamlined CRM, a streamlined social media tracker, other capacities, streamlined sort of basic accounting and deposit management. So these small to mid-sized teams don't have to become experts at other software and have to leave our platform. And the other thing we really focused on is the pricing for these teams in the past has been very difficult on a ticket fee per basis. So we've actually worked with that downward pressure and kind of adopted this concept of fee neutrality, where whether they're on our fixed season fees or even on a variable season fee, the fees never discriminate between online versus door versus season versus single or package items. So that seemed to be working very well. We're getting a great response, and it just keeps going. The bigger thing for me was, not being the least technical guy in my company, was how do our clients use this stuff? Because what we've heard is clients often get a ticketing platform and then they don't use it. They don't use it well. So we basically decided, we weren't going to let them worry about doing a proper setup. We do turnkey setup right from the go. We provide advice, having done 15,000 sporting events, 500 seasons of sport. We've seen a lot and we know a lot now. And so we actually help them set up right and start right. And then the live training, we actually kind of do that in a realistic setting, which is literally the white labeled ticketing portal for that specific client with their actual client fans, their actual ticket prices. And we sort of parse out the training over time following the season cycle. It seems to stick much better. And on support, well, we just don't provide tech support. We actually provide sort of advisory support. So if they want to talk to us about ideas, implementing new features, leveraging features that exist already, or finding out what other clients do, we are happy to sit down with them and make that happen. So we're trying to get small to mid-sized sports teams adopt ticketing, because frankly, it's important for their survival, and it's important for the ecosystem, even for larger major league teams, because these feeder leagues need to be supported, and they're the ones who have been struggling and sort of ignored by most of the ticketing companies. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. Great presentation. Just a quick reminder, if you could unshare your screen and we'll get into some panelist feedback. So for feedback, why don't we begin this one with Josie?
Oops, sorry, went out of order that time. So I think that was some great information. We're one of those smaller attended venues around the 5,000 to 7,000, depending on the team. So it's you're definitely right, where we get in front of these, or these other organizations get in front of us and expect NHL type fees and things like that, and then we don't get that sort of attention because we're a startup and we're still rely on companies like yourself for a lot of assistance in some areas. So I think you have a pretty niche market there, and every smaller company wants to hear exactly everything that you've said. So yeah, I'd love to connect later on and see where we might fit together, because it seems like you exactly what we need. So love to talk later.
Thanks.
Good stuff. Thank you, Josie, for that. Next, I'd like to turn to Costa and get your thoughts about the presentation.
Yeah, no, I think again, Josie hit it on the head. There's the ticket masters of the world and the big players who provide everything, but they're super expensive. And the profits for most of these teams, except for the top 1%, are razor thin. So you really need that mid-market solution that can kind of provide those what they do, but at a price that you're not going to go under. So I think you're hitting the right market there, and I think it makes sense.
Awesome. Chris, I'd love to turn to you next for your feedback on the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I thought it was excellent. Coming from in my time with the Ottawa Senators, we were on Pakiolin, which served kind of that, I don't want to say the mid-market, but the college and so kind of just below pro level. And then through the transition to Ticketmaster, I've seen the difference between the 500-pound gorilla and the slightly smaller player. And there's something to be said for the slightly smaller player in terms of customization. I don't know if you talked about it on your in your presentation. I apologize if I missed it, but I think a big gap right now that I see at our level is the CRM integration into the ticketing system. I always joke with my coworkers saying the first person that makes a robust ticketing system with a CRM built into it is going to be a billionaire. So, that's something that I've always struggled with. That we use Salesforce here, and while they integrate well, it's still two systems you're flipping back and forth. And the training, if anyone's ever used Artix before, it's hard to train on. It's very, very hard to train on, especially at the season ticket level. And just the last thing, I think you've probably thought of it, but if you're partnering with leagues, I know you're talking to Josie already about it, but to be partnered with them and going into the teams together as a united front, that's one of the things that Pakiolin was always really good at, was being introduced in and being at the league level and being a partner of the league. So, but excellent presentation.
Yeah, part of our philosophy is, other than being market focused, we're focused on sports, and that's really afforded us the ability to focus on individual features in detail and not worry about concerts. Like, concert fees are high, but small, mid-sized sports teams have features like unused ticket night, flex packs, flex credit, a whole bunch of complex features they need, maybe even more than the Edmonton Oilers. I'm in Edmonton, not that it's something to brag about, not the Oilers I'm talking about. So we find being focused on sports and mid-market has gotten us to really know our customers and come up with features. In fact, the clients give us a lot of ideas for those features. And for the CRM, we actually sort of have philosophy, like we're not going to replace, Salesforce or Score CRM or some of these big CRMs. And if you want to use that system, and some clients do in the USHL, they'll maybe use an API. But we've been embedding simple, streamlined versions of those. So we do have what we call a TRM, a task and ticket relationship manager, where you can assign accounts, create tasks, follow up, look at lifetime spend across multiple years for each fan. So quite pretty fantastic functionality. I mean, we've been taking clients from Ticketmaster and they're very happy. So we're trying to do more of that, sort of putting more stuff in. We're working right now on things where you can actually, you can already do, but streamline the ability to sell, event nights, sponsor packages, and other things, in addition to taking deposits and creating invoices. So we are expanding the scope of the software.
Yeah, it's funny. It was a bit of a rude awakening for me when I was a little more junior in my career, when we went from PAC to Artix, and I say, well, just call them and let's ask them to put the HST here. And the call went as about what you would expect. So, if you can build customization into your pitch, I would definitely do that if I was you.
Yeah.
Great feedback and great discussion here from everyone. I'd love to round out the panelist discussion for feedback from Igniter Tickets with Nick. So Nick, we'd love to hear your feedback on the presentation.
Yeah, great stuff, Danielle. Congratulations. I think it's all been said. Really, the best part about going last is that usually all the good stuff has been said by my colleagues on the panel. My two comments, I think your mid-market focus is spot on. We're a mid-market league, the National Lacrosse League, and our teams fall right into this, right into your sweet spot of your clients. I'd love to learn more about, so you can get my information. Maybe we can have a chat afterwards. I'd be interested. So I think that's great. And then, the comment I think Chris made about integrating CRM and having customization opportunities for these mid-market sports properties is really key. I think that if you could figure that one out, or if you already deliver that service, I don't know, that would even enhance your product even more, in my opinion.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Nick. Sorry, Daniel, I'm just trying to manage the rest of the time of this event. And with that, this concludes our third event of the Sports Tech and Innovation Series powered by FanSaves. I want to thank all of our panelists for taking the time to give their insights on ticket technology, and also thank the startups for presenting their companies here today. These are really tough times for the sports industry, but it's also a really tough time to be a sports tech entrepreneur. So I invite anybody out there that's watching this, if they have any referrals or they can make any connections to help any of the founders or any of our panelists today, to go ahead and do so. It's much appreciated. I invite you to join us on Thursday, October 22nd at 1 p.m. for our next event that will focus on sports betting. A reminder, today's event will be posted on our FanSaves YouTube channel later this week for you to review. Thank you again to our partners and everyone who attended today. To learn more about FanSaves or to request a demo, please reach out to me on LinkedIn or contact us through our website. Follow our social media pages for all updates and information about future events. And with that, have a great rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.